When we think of Europe, what comes to mind first? Perhaps France with its Eiffel Tower shining at night, Germany with its modern cities, or even the Netherlands with its charming windmills and colorful tulip fields, right? But there is one nation that seems pulled straight from the pages of an ancient fairy tale, full of mystery, magic, and legendary warriors. A country where men wear traditional skirts as a symbol of bravery, where green hills seem endless, where ruined castles tell stories of the past, and where the largest population of redheads on the planet lives, with a unique and unmistakable beauty. I'm talking about Scotland, a land where myth and reality blend like no other country in Europe. Here, mist-covered mountains hide ancient stories. Deep lakes feed legends that are impossible to verify. Medieval alleyways served as settings for the Harry Potter saga, with castles and landscapes that seem pulled directly from magic. In today's video, you're going to discover a Scotland that almost no one imagines. Wild, mysterious, enchanting, and at the same time, completely real. So get ready, because what you're about to see will leave you amazed, intrigued, and completely fascinated. But first, leave a like and subscribe to Have Travel. It costs you nothing and helps me a lot to keep bringing you incredible content. Geography. Scotland is located at the northernmost part of the United Kingdom, occupying the top of the island of Great Britain. With approximately 78,000 kilometers squared, the country may seem small on the map, but its landscapes look like something straight out of an epic movie. Scotland is divided into three major natural regions: the lowlands, the central belt, and the highlands, each so distinct that it feels like three countries in one. To the north and west are the famous highlands, an isolated mountainous region surrounded by deep valleys, narrow rivers, and dark cliffs covered by mist. Here stands Ben Nevis at 1,345 meters, the tallest mountain in the United Kingdom. In the east, the landscape changes completely. The terrain is flatter, the climate milder, and historic cities like Edinburgh appear, surrounded by gentle hills and coastal cliffs. On the west coast, massive black rock walls drop directly into the ocean, forming some of Europe's most impressive natural scenery. Scattered throughout the country are Scotland's famous lochs, lakes formed during the Ice Age. The most well-known is Loch Ness, deep, icy, and wrapped in a legend that has traveled around the world. Scotland is also a country of islands, and not few of them, over 790. Many are so remote they seem to exist in another century, with tiny villages, sheep grazing everywhere, and absolute silence broken only by the North Atlantic wind. Small on the map, but full of shapes, colors, and mysteries, Scotland seems designed to impress anyone visiting for the first time. Population. Scotland has approximately 5.4 million inhabitants, a relatively small number compared to other European countries. But don't be fooled by the figure. This population carries a strong, proud identity, deeply connected to the land where they live. Scots were known for their strong sense of belonging, for valuing traditions, and for maintaining an almost emotional relationship with their history. Most of the population is concentrated in the central and eastern regions, especially in cities like Edinburgh and Glasgow, which combine urban life, universities, jobs, and much of Scotland's economy. Despite being a small nation, Scotland has one of the most distinctive cultural compositions in Europe. Here, the famous Scottish clans originated, ancestral families that dominated entire territories for centuries and still influence surnames, coats of arms, traditions, and even the colors of kilts used in celebrations. A fascinating fact is that Scotland has the highest proportion of redheads in the world. About 13% of the population naturally has red hair, a rare genetic trait that has become a symbol of local identity, almost like a trademark of the Scottish people. The official language is English, but the country also preserves two traditional languages, Scots, spoken in some eastern regions, and Scottish Gaelic, an ancient Celtic language that still survives on the islands and in the Highlands, where street signs, music, and festivals keep this cultural heritage alive. In terms of religion, Scotland is predominantly Christian, with a strong presence of the Church of Scotland, one of the oldest Protestant institutions in the world. However, many local traditions and festivals still carry traces of ancient pagan customs inherited from the Celtic peoples who lived in the region long before Christianity arrived. Capital. Edinburgh, Scotland's capital, is one of the oldest and most impressive cities in Europe. With around 550,000 inhabitants, Edinburgh is the political, historical, and cultural heart of the country, and is considered one of the continent's most beautiful capitals. The city is famous for its clear division between the Old Town and the New Town. In the Old Town, narrow streets, dark alleys, and medieval buildings create an atmosphere frozen in time. Here stands the city's main symbol, Edinburgh Castle, built atop an ancient volcanic rock. It dominates the skyline and can be seen from almost anywhere. For centuries, it was a strategic military fortress, the scene of wars against England, bloody sieges, and disputes over Scotland's control. Today, the castle houses the Scottish crown jewels and the famous cannon that fires every day at noon, a tradition maintained for over 150 years. From the castle begins the Royal Mile, the city's most famous historic avenue. This street connects the castle with the Palace of Holyrood House, the official residence of the king when in Scotland. Along the way, there are ancient churches, museums, traditional shops, narrow alleys, and medieval buildings that retain the appearance of centuries past. Much of the city's tourist and historical life is concentrated here. Another emblematic spot is Arthur's Seat, a volcanic hill within the city. From the top, you get a complete view of Edinburgh, the North Sea, and surrounding regions. The place is surrounded by ancient legends, and many believe it was a site of Celtic rituals before Christianity arrived. The city is also famous for Calton Hill, one of Scotland's most iconic viewpoints. At its summit are monuments like the National Monument of Scotland, inspired by the Greek Parthenon, as well as the Nelson Monument. This spot has become a visual symbol of the city and one of the most photographed in the country. The New Town, on the other hand, showcases the modern and elegant side of the capital, with wide avenues, Georgian buildings, sophisticated shops, and lively cafes. This duality makes Edinburgh so special. Medieval and modern at the same time, dark and enchanting, quiet and vibrant.
Curiosities. Scotland is one of those countries that seem normal at first glance, but the more you observe it, the more you realize how different it is from the rest of Europe. One of the most striking curiosities is that men traditionally wear skirts, the famous kilt. Contrary to what many think, it is not a costume or tourist clothing. The kilt represents the clan, the region of origin, and even family status. Each checked design, known as a tartan, is linked to a specific lineage. Another curious fact is that Scotland has one of the oldest networks of underground constructions in Europe. The city of Edinburgh holds a complex system of tunnels, hidden alleyways, and ancient passages that were used centuries ago and are now associated with ghost stories, secret prisons, and diseases that devastated the population during the Middle Ages. It is no coincidence that Edinburgh is considered one of the most haunted cities in the world. Scotland is also the country of lakes. There are more than 31,000 lakes, locally known as lochs. The most famous is Loch Ness, known worldwide for the legend of the monster Nessie. Although its existence has never been proven, the story has fueled tourism, investigations, and enormous curiosity for decades, becoming one of the most famous legends on the planet. Another fact that few people know is that golf was born in Scotland. The sport emerged in the 15th century, and the oldest course in the world still in operation is located in St. Andrews. For a long time, the game was even banned by Scottish kings because it distracted soldiers from their military training, which ironically made it even more popular. Another interesting detail is that Scotland has more than 2,000 castles, many of them in ruins, spread across the territory. Some are located in completely isolated areas, surrounded by mountains, lakes, or cliffs, further reinforcing the country's cinematic appearance. Another curiosity is that the symbol representing Scotland is the unicorn. In Celtic mythology, deeply rooted in the country, the unicorn symbolized purity and innocence, but at the same time also represented masculinity, strength, and power. Finally, Scotland was one of the harshest centers of witch trials in Europe. Between the 10th and 16th centuries, thousands of people, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft, tried, and executed. Scotland may seem like just another European country, but in practice it is a place full of unique customs, unsettling stories, and curiosities found nowhere else on a continent.
Traditional dances. In Scotland, dance has always been much more than simple entertainment. It has served as a form of expression, physical training, and cultural identity. One of the best-known styles is the Highland dance, a solo dance that emerged among the Highland warriors. Its movements are fast and demanding, requiring balance, jumps, and great precision, and were used as a form of physical training before battles. Traditionally, dancers perform to the sound of the Scottish bagpipe and wear the full kilt, reinforcing the connection between dance, clan, and tradition. Another very common dance is the Scottish country dance, performed in organized groups, usually in pairs. This dance became popular in ballrooms and social gatherings and follows well-defined patterns with partner exchanges and perfectly synchronized steps. It demands coordination and focus and is still taught in schools and performed at formal events. There is also the Ceilidh dance, perhaps the most popular among the general public. Unlike the more rigid dances, the Ceilidh is lively, communal, and accessible, allowing anyone to participate, even without prior experience. It is very common at weddings, local parties, and public celebrations, functioning more as a social gathering than as an artistic performance. All these dances share one thing in common: the sound of the Scottish bagpipe, which sets the rhythm and creates an intense atmosphere, guiding each step and turning the dance into an almost ritual experience. Economy. Scotland has one of the strongest economies in the United Kingdom, but also one of the most unequal. Despite the image associated with castles, green landscapes, and tourism, the country sustains much of its wealth in strategic sectors that many people don't even imagine. One of the historical pillars of the Scottish economy is North Sea oil and gas. For decades, exploiting these reserves generated billions in revenue and employment, especially in the northeast regions like Aberdeen. However, this sector has faced a gradual decline due to resource depletion and energy transition policies, sparking intense debates about the country's economic future. Another extremely strong sector is whiskey, one of the most famous products worldwide. Scotland hosts hundreds of distilleries across the territory and islands. To give you an idea, whiskey exports generate billions of pounds annually and support entire communities, making it one of the main sources of foreign income for the country. Agriculture and livestock remain relevant activities, especially in barley, beef, and lamb production. These products supply both domestic and export markets, keeping the rural and isolated economies alive. Scotland may seem small on the map, but its economy is complex, strategic, and full of contrasts, just like the country itself. Film and series locations. Scotland is one of the most used countries worldwide as a filming location, especially when productions need wild landscapes, medieval castles, and a dark, dramatic atmosphere. Many famous scenes that seem set in fictional worlds were actually filmed in Scotland. One of the most famous locations is Glencoe in the Highlands. This mountain valley, surrounded by steep, mist-covered slopes, was used in productions like Braveheart and 007 Skyfall. The place is known for its raw, almost untouched appearance, constantly conveying a sense of isolation and danger. Another frequently filmed location is the Isle of Skye. Its rocky formations, cliffs, and narrow roads have served as settings for fantasy films and epic series. The island gained even more fame after appearing in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, representing a remote and inhospitable planet. Among castles, one of the most filmed is Doune Castle, featured in Outlander and Game of Thrones. Its well-preserved structure allows filming without major digital effects, making it very attractive to producers. But no cinematic universe is as closely linked to Scotland as Harry Potter. It was in the Scottish capital that J.K. Rowling wrote the first pages of the first book in the series. She lived in the city and directly used Edinburgh's medieval atmosphere as inspiration for the magical world. Narrow streets, ancient buildings, dark alleys, and historic cemeteries helped to define the story's dark and enchanting tone. Many characters also have Scottish links, like the Weasleys, famous for their red hair. Even the names of several characters can be found on tombstones in Greyfriars Cemetery. Hogwarts would be located in the Highlands, and many movie scenes were filmed in the country, including the famous Hogwarts Express. Tourist sites. Scotland hosts some of Europe's most impressive tourist sites, largely thanks to its castles, natural landscapes, and historical landmarks across the territory. The country's most famous attraction is Edinburgh Castle, perched on a volcanic rock in the heart of the capital. It is the most visited monument in Scotland and one of Europe's most important castles. Throughout history, it served as a military fortress, royal palace, and prison. Today, it is the country's main national symbol. Another famous site is Loch Ness, a deep, dark lake renowned worldwide for the Nessie legend. Beyond its history, the site impresses with its size, depth, and isolation, surrounded by mountains and dense forests that enhance its mysterious atmosphere. In the islands, the Isle of Skye stands out as one of Scotland's most beautiful regions. Famous for its cliffs, rock formations, narrow roads, and isolated villages, its extreme landscapes are frequently used as filming locations. Another highly visited site is the Glenfinnan Viaduct, internationally known for appearing in the Harry Potter films as part of the Hogwarts Express route. The viaduct crosses an open valley surrounded by mountains and lakes and has become one of the country's most photographed spots. Stirling Castle is another major historical symbol. It served as the residence of kings and queens and played a decisive role in the Scottish Wars of Independence, making it one of the country's most strategic castles. For those seeking extreme nature, Ben Nevis at 1,345 meters is a must-visit. It is the United Kingdom's highest mountain, attracting hikers and adventurers year-round. In the Highlands, Glencoe stands out as one of Europe's most dramatic valleys. Besides its natural beauty, the place carries a history marked by clan massacres, intensifying its dark and intense atmosphere. Scotland's tourist sites are not only beautiful, they tell real stories of war, isolation, legends, and resilience, turning every visit into an authentic journey into the country's past. Cuisine. Scottish food is simple, hearty, and deeply connected to the cold climate and rural life. Its most famous and controversial dish is haggis, made with lamb's offal such as heart, liver, and lungs mixed with oats, onions, and spices, all cooked inside the animal's stomach. It may sound unusual to many, but haggis is a national symbol and is traditionally served on special occasions like Burns Night. Another common everyday dish is the Scottish breakfast, an even heavier version of the British breakfast. It includes eggs, bacon, sausage, beans, mushrooms, and typical Scottish items like black pudding and white pudding, sausages made from blood or fat. It is a meal designed to provide energy for many hours. Among fast foods, the Scotch pie is very popular, a small pastry filled with seasoned minced meat sold in bakeries, football stadiums, and local markets. Simple, cheap, and extremely common in daily life. Scotland also stands out for its high-quality fish and seafood, especially salmon, considered among the best in the world. Eaten smoked, grilled, or cured, it is one of the country's main food exports. For desserts, options are simpler but deeply traditional. Shortbread, a buttery biscuit made with few ingredients, is one of the most famous and is often enjoyed with tea or coffee. Another popular dessert is cronachan, made with oats, cream, honey, and fruits. Scottish cuisine perfectly reflects the country itself, rustic, straightforward, uncomplicated, and deeply connected to the land and climate. It may not appeal to everyone, but it is an essential part of the people's identity and history. In summary, Scotland is a country that goes far beyond the common images many people have of Europe. It is a land where castles dominate the landscape, ancient traditions remain alive in daily life, men wear kilts as a symbol of identity, and legends, battles, and customs have forged a people proud of their history. A small country on the map, but enormous in culture, history, and personality. This video comes to an end. Now tell us, what caught your attention the most? If you watched until the end, leave a like and subscribe to Have Travel. This motivates me to continue bringing more content. See you in the next video.